Well, good morning, everyone. I'm here today with another book author. I'm super excited to be interviewing Michele about her books. Michele, why don't you tell us your name and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me, Michele. I'm Michele with one L, and my last name is Chynoweth. I tell people it's like Chenoweth with a Y, but sounds like you know it. No relation to Kristen, by the way. I get that a lot. And I'm the author of 4 novels that are contemporary suspense with a little romance that are based on Bible stories, Old Testament stories in the Bible. They reimagine the story in an edgy, fast-paced way, action-packed, and they get across the message of that particular Bible story, whether it be to have more faith, to have some more courage, to overcome jealousy or anger or various aspects of the Bible message that God tries to get across, but in a way where it's entertaining and people can pick it up like a beach read or a thriller or a murder mystery. It's its own story, and I'm working on the 5th.
That's awesome. Can you give us the titles of your books?
Absolutely. I'll show them as I...
Yes, please.
Okay, the first is The Faithful One, and reimagines the book of Job. And the second is The Peacemaker, based on the story of David and Abigail in the first book of Samuel. They're both suspense with a little romance, like I said. And then we have The Runaway Prophet. It's a thriller set in Las Vegas, the new Nineveh, based on the book of Jonah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And then the 4th is The Jealous Son. And
that's the one I have.
It's a modern murder mystery based on the story of Cain and Abel.
Yeah, that's great. I just love your books. I love the idea. What made you, Michele, get into writing books?
Well, I want to say my first story, The Faithful One, found me. God was calling on me to write it. I just didn't know it at the time. I really didn't want to write it at first. I fought that call a lot like Jonah, but it held on, and I got through and realized this is what God's calling me to write. So I've always wanted to be a writer since I was 10 years old. And life happened, though, and that dream got buried along the way. Although I was always a writer, I was a news reporter coming out of college, and I worked for newspapers, and even I was a TV news reporter for a while. And then I started to want to be more creative with my writing, so I went into advertising and marketing, and I was in that for 25 some years. I owned my own ad agency. I started as an account executive with a Wilmington city firm, and worked my way up the ladder, and then opened my own ad agency. And then I went into the corporate world as a marketing director. But along the way, that writing bug, and I started writing my first book. I want to backtrack and say through that journey, I also had a personal journey. So after graduating from college, got that job as a news reporter, worked for various newspapers, and got married, had 3 children. When my first child was on the way, that's when I went into business for myself. I wanted to stay home with him. And that blossomed into a full-blown ad agency. Had my next 2 kids, and had some struggles, which brings me into my Job story. Got divorced, got remarried, acquired 2 bonus children or stepchildren, and but along the way, I started to realize I wanted to write that book. My youngest daughter is 24, and when she was 1 year old, I remember this yearning to want to write. So I wrote suspense with little romance. Not this first one. I wrote what I thought was going to be the next great American novel. It was about a reporter and a destined yet doomed love affair, and I thought was good, and it won the Maryland Writers Association Fiction Prize in the drama. But the prize, which was literary agency representation with a big New York firm, fell through when 9/11 happened. And I was,
Oh,
yes, we all lost the prize for
wow.
our agency
Oh,
representation. And back then,
wow.
2001, back then they didn't have Amazon,
Right.
self-publishing. And
Right.
so I was devastated driving along, and I was in a really dark place spiritually as well. And I remember looking up and seeing a neon sign, used books and Bibles. And I heard this still small voice say, Michele, you should write a modern day story based on the book of Job.
Wow.
I thought, okay, yeah, right. How is that going to make me rich and famous? Because back then I was all about that. And yeah, again, not in a good place. And, it didn't let go. God called on me. Turns out
Wow.
I was a lot like Job. I was losing my marriage. I was losing my ad agency at the time through the recession of the 90s. Felt like I was losing my kids who were becoming teenagers, and I was losing my health through the family disease of alcoholism. And I was, again, in a bad place. I was just like,
Wow.
felt like I was losing everything in despair. And God pulled me through. It took me 8 years to write that book, but God pulled me through. And
Wow.
just like Job wound up with a richer, fuller life. I'm remarried to a wonderful man, have a great relationship with all 5 of our kids and 2 grandkids. I am living my dream now of being a full-time author, speaker, and book coach. And I celebrated earlier this year in the pandemic on Zoom. I celebrated my 16th anniversary of sobriety. So,
Oh, congratulations. Wow.
thank you.
This is
Thank
quite
you.
a journey, quite a testimony of what God can do through us. And then your books, and I'm sure, like you said, they each one have a theme in it that can also help the reader. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think your books, well, we have one of your books, and you said you're getting ready to write a 5th one. So that's another congratulations to you. But tell us, why would a reader want to read your book? What would a reader get out of reading your book? Not only entertainment, it sounds entertaining, but how can it benefit, if you will, the reader?
Well, that's what came to me as I started to do some speaking. So I was called to do an author Q&A at, a small church group, and then a women's group. And I was in the business world still. So, at a Rotary Club or a Chamber of Commerce. And I started to realize how my book, the faithful one, and then the subsequent ones actually help people. So I was at a church group, and a lady came up to me afterwards and said, after reading your book, I decided to go back to church again, that I need to hold on to my faith and go back and reconnect with God. And I was like, wow, God wasn't just helping me through writing these books, but helping others. And I was giving a talk at, on the Peacemaker, and it's a story about Abigail, who is originally married to a mean, narcissistic, abusive alcoholic, and meets, soon to be King David. And David's ready to wipe out her husband. They clash in the desert, and he's ready to wipe out the whole village. And she has to summon up the courage, at great risk to herself, to make peace between them and spare her husband, but her people too. And I have it in the context of a modern day presidential election, and the campaigns get ugly. And she is about to, possibly become first lady, and she risks everything and not to give too much away, but it's a book about having courage. So anyway, I'm speaking to a women's group, and a young lady came up to me afterwards and took my hand and said, I feel like I'm married to the same guy you used to be married to, my ex-husband. We get along these days, but she said, can we talk? And I realized in that moment, like, that book is helping, women in particular, but others that are going through. So they help people through tough times. I get across modern day social issues, anything from the opioid crisis and the jealous son to terrorism and in the runaway prophet. And so they not only get across God's message, but modern day issues, domestic abuse, alcoholism and the like that like people deal with today, and God's message can help those people today.
That's
So,
right. God's message is always about hope. So praise God for that. I love it. Tell us where you can get your books, Michele.
okay, well, my books are available anywhere. I'm with Morgan James Publishing, and they're out of New York, and they also have offices in Nashville and Australia. So they are available worldwide in paperback, hard copy, ebooks, and audiobooks. The Jealous Son hasn't come out yet in audiobook, but they're working on it. So,
What was the name of the fifth book? What did you say?
and the fifth book, just in its infancy, is going to be The Wise Man, based on Solomon. Still,
Okay. Oh.
so, but look for that hopefully next year or the following year. This is a process, right? But they are available on Amazon,
Okay, good.
Ingram, libraries, Walmart, Target carry them, Barnes and Noble, wherever books are sold.
And do you have your own website that you can give us?
I do, and you can order autographed copies through PayPal on my website, and I'll be glad to send you a personalized autographed copy.
Oh,
It's my name.com, michelechinoweth.com.
great. That's awesome. And I really enjoy hearing about your books. I can't wait to read one. We already have The Jealous Son, so I can't wait to read another one. But I'm just going to suggest for our viewers that think about these books for Christmas presents, because, wow, wouldn't this be great to give to someone that, I don't know, that could use a little bit of inspiration, or maybe they're going through a tough time. Hey, we're all going through tough times right now, right, with the pandemic, and we can all relate to something that Michele has already talked about, whether we need some bold faith or some courage. We need hope in these days, right? So, you know, I love her books because it's not only entertaining, but it's giving the reader something more than just an entertaining story. It's giving the reader hope in what God wants to do through all of us, because all of us need that right now, especially. So think about Michele's books for Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents or whatever kind of presents, birthday presents. I just think that they would make great presents. And check out her website. Michele, do you have any final words for us before we wrap it up here?
Oh, I could talk all day to you, Michele. You're a great interviewer.
What would you say to somebody who wants to be an author? How about that? Because I'm always looking at from authors, from people who have written books. How can you encourage someone else who, like yourself, maybe they want to write a book, but they just haven't gotten to it yet? What would you say to that person?
Yes, and thank you. You're helping authors as well with this whole show. I am also a book coach, and what I do is help other writers become authors through my services, which is anything from ghostwriting or helping them write. I teach writing actually at my local college, Cecil College, and now it's on Zoom, so anybody anywhere can take those courses as long as they're online. So I teach a whole writing course of how to write your first book, and anything from style and character and dialogue to, you know, soup to nuts. But I also talk about various publishing paths and a little bit about marketing, since I have a background in that. So I help along that journey. I work with authors or writers one-on-one. And then I also provide editing services. I'm an editor with 2 publishers right now, as well as independently. So I meet the writer where at their, you know, where they need me. So they may just need a proofreading, or they may need a content edit, line by line edit. So editing services. And then I help writers get published through Amazon KDP if they need me to help them with that, because it's not as easy as it sounds to get self-published. You know, you need to have a good title, good cover, a good format. And then finally, with marketing, I help, you know, with marketing services. I basically want people started coming up to me as I did this speaking, public speaking, and I also speak at various writers conferences. Again, you know, that's grown to various writers conferences. I've spoken to Maryland Writers Association, Kentucky Christian Writers, Greater Philly Christian Writers, and writers come up to me and say, how did you get where you are? How do you do what you do? And that projected me again. I'm like, okay, God, I guess that's what I'm meant to do also, to help
Right.
others get to where I am, as far as this journey of being, a fairly recognized now author. So I'm glad to help others, and I know you are too. And I think it's another calling right now.
Wow, that you have a wonderful, just a wonderful amount of experience that you can offer people, and I love that, because all of us are in different journeys. If we want to become an author, we're on different levels of that, I should say. Our journey might look differently. One person could be a young person who wants to become an author. It sounds like you could coach them as much as you could coach the 65-year-old to become an author. So you just have a wonderful array of talent there, Michele. And I think I'm going to be contacting you too, because I'm already, thinking about my second book now. I've got ideas about that. So, and not that I could do what I've already done, but I felt like I could have used a little more support in certain areas. So
we all can use that help. And there's the thing, you're right. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. We all have to help each other, and we're constantly learning. I mean, I'm constantly learning.
Yes.
we throw out what we know to help the next one up the ladder.
That's right.
Do a little bit better. So I think I'm glad to help other writers, and we all can use a little bit more help. So
yeah,
God didn't put us here alone to, on an island to do this writing journey, and we can help each other.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I do really appreciate the time that you spent with us this morning, taking some time out of your busy day. You sound like a very busy lady.
Well, thank you. I wanted to add one more thing. I do help authors in all genres. So I have helped with children's books, novels, devotionals, nonfiction.
Biographies, how about biographies?
Biographies, memoir. I've done a little bit of everything, and you can find all those on my website on my coaching tab. So example of everything. There are more coming in, but I love what I do. And yes, thank you very much for having me. I hope you'll visit my website to find out more. All you need to know is on there, and please reach out and contact me. My email is michele@michellechynoweth.com. I love to hear from readers and writers and the general public. I have a blog on there as well that's spiritual.
Oh, good.
That I get out a newsletter and blog that's hopefully spiritual and biblical messages that we can use today. Right here, right now. So
we need that. We need to encourage each other. Thank you. And I just want everybody to just share this video if you would. Again, Michele's got a lot of experience, and she's got 4 great books that would be great presents and things like that. She has a 5th one coming out. So just check her out. And again, share this video. If you know someone who wants to be an author, share this video with them too. All right. Well, God bless everyone. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.